Okay, we're moving straight on to our next session, entitled Peace and Prosperity in the Region, Identifying New Opportunities. And it's my great pleasure to introduce our guest of honor and keynote speaker, Abdullah Gül, former president of Turkey. Welcome, sir. The floor is yours.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to express my happiness to be in Greece after many years. I've been here several times before in my former capacities, and each time I felt like a well-treated guest in the house of a very close friend. I would also like to thank for the organizers for the invitation. First of all, I wish I could be able to picture the current geopolitical order in our region as a source for peace and prosperity. However, this is not the case. We are passing through difficult times without lesson learned. The world, and particularly Europe's story, is full of examples proving that peace is the sine qua non to attain prosperity. EU is the most concrete example in front of us. Despite the past experience and accumulated knowledge, we still lack the patience and determination to solve problems with maturity. We treat compromise as a negative act and fail to use it as a method to find solutions. The more we avoid making sacrifices for timely dialogue and reconciliation, the higher the cost we pay in the aftermath. Such an approach causes pain, suffering, and destruction that could have been paid. There's no doubt that making peace is harder than making war. Actually, Europe has confronted this reality many times. Today's OSCE was established and Helsinki Final Act was signed in 1975. With the reconciliatory spirit even during the Cold War. After the end of the Cold War, we have made considerable progress for the European security and stability. The establishment of NATO, Russian Permanent Joint Council in 1997 as a mechanism for taking joint decisions and action was an important step in this direction. This platform fully functioned until the Russians' illegal and illegitimate annexation of Crimea. Even if there were serious casualties, the conflicts in the Balkans could be resolved with the common sense reached within the international community. When we thought war would never come to Europe again, we are now facing the Russian-Ukraine war that shakes the European and transatlantic security. This is not a war only between two neighboring countries. It's more than that. It brings, again, the Western and East neck to neck and results in further polarization around the world. It has obviously turned into a war of proxies in a dangerous game. Could the war have been avoided? I would say yes. The Minsk agreements that were signed by Ukraine, Russia, and the OSCE special representatives in 2014 and 2015 were instrumental to this end. Unfortunately, the parties failed to implement these agreements and they negotiated war, not peace. After many pains and neglect, now it is high time to sit together again around the same table and engage in a serious negotiations in order to avoid further damage. This is very critical, not only for the European security, but also the security configuration around the world. On the other hand, the situation in the war-torn Middle East, especially in Gaza, is worrisome. As UN Secretary General rightly pointed out, the October 7 attack on Israel did not happen in a vacuum. I unequivocally condemn the loss of civilians' lives on both sides. However, we should not forget that the Israeli-Palestinian conflict has a 5 decades long history full of tragedy for Palestinians. The main reason of the war we are witnessing together with great sadness in the Palestinian territories today is, in a word, occupation. Israel's oppressive control of the West Bank and East Jerusalem since 1967, the colonization of the occupied Palestinian territories with its illegal settlement policies, its repressive policies incompatible with human dignity, its discarding of binding UN Security Council resolution prepared the unfortunate ground for today's heartbreaking picture. Moreover, the acceptance of these policies by the world public opinion as a new normal was just a poor ignorance. Israel's total destruction of Gaza in front of the eyes of the world, where more than 40,000 defenseless people, women, and children are killed, does not coincide with any Western values. If we ignore the core of the problem and do not deal with its root causes, we cannot talk about the sustainable peace. The vicious circle will continue. This will be a strategic mistake. A two-state solution based on 1967 border with East Jerusalem as the capital of Palestine is the only option to attain a brighter future for both Palestinians and Israelis. Reaching this solution will certainly guarantee the security of Israel forever and largest cooperation between them. Time has come to make a real breakthrough for this chronic issue. Let me also draw your attention to another threat. Turning our eyes back to Europe, the rise of the far right in Europe, as we have just witnessed, is also a risky issue. Far right's policies did not bring good results for Europe in its history. European leaders should reflect deeply on how and why this is happening. Ladies and gentlemen, despite this gloomy picture in our region, the sun is shining when it comes to the course of Turkish-Greek relations. Our countries share borders on land and sea, and our cultures are linked. This connectedness makes Turkish-Greek relations much more special at the state and people-to-people levels. Our shared geography is our destiny. Therefore, we should be wise enough to act in line with this reality. An approach laid on goodwill, openness, trust, and empathy always makes a difference in the development of our relations. When I applied this policy in my previous capacities with my Greek counterparts, one of them, she is sitting here, we obtained satisfactory results. In a similar way, now, we should stick to the positive agenda with a strategic vision without tactical movies. The 2023 Athens Declaration opened a new and dynamic chapter in our relations, and there is an evident political will on the part of the leaders of both sides to continue their constructive dialogue. The Aegean Sea is our common treasury. It should present a source of cooperation and dialogue, not conflict. To solve all outstanding issues in the Aegean, constructive dialogue, diplomacy, and international law must prevail over the logic of confrontation. Such endeavors would pave the way to just, lasting, comprehensive, and equitable settlements to the Asian issue that would be acceptable by both sides. We need to respect each other's legitimate rights and vital interests there. Cultivating empathy and putting yourself in the other's shoes are of utmost importance in that sense. We need to focus on what we can all gain avoiding a maximalist approach. Economy is the essential instrument for the straightening of our negotiations at various levels. If we can increase mutual direct investments, our economies will become more interdependent. This will give us leverage to defend each other's interests in the region and beyond. Tourism is another sector that generates new avenues for cooperation. The recent developments in this area are praiseworthy. We should also embark on new projects to promote our cultural heritage together. With all these positive developments, we must remain vigilant against disruptive elements that may try to undermine the positive climate. We should not fall into the trap of marginal groups who might be provocative in both sides. Maintaining and empowering the recent positive atmosphere in our relations will benefit our countries and the region as a whole. Such a positive climate will also contribute to reach a just, lasting, sustainable, and mutually acceptable settlements to the Cyprus issue based on the realities on the island. The outcome of the Cyprus settlement will be much more rewarding than we expected. This will contribute to the resolution of several problematic matters, from energy supply, regional security to NATO issue cooperation. Above all, this will bring prosperity and wealth to the entire Mediterranean region. We should not lose sight of this strategic perspective. Overall, with a positive and honest approach to each other and by joining our hands as Turks and Greeks, we can become the generator of cooperation in our region. While doing so, we will explore and seize the sea of opportunity ahead of us together. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much for that overview, and I liked your phrase, the phrase that you used, amidst all the darkness and doom and gloom in Ukraine and the Middle East, the sun is shining on Greece-Turkey relations at the moment. So that's a very positive message about the high-level dialogue and the positive agenda that's been going on over the past year or so. Just a quick follow-up from me on that. Are there any limits to that? You seem to suggest at the end that as long as we continue, as the two countries continue on this path of developing trade, tourism, economic relations, that should be the focus, that we might see breakthroughs on more contentious, maybe, or more difficult issues.
Definitely there are difficult issues, but we should not forget that we are neighboring and we are living together here in this region, and we will remain this forever. So the wise leadership in both sides, they take all these into account and try to solve this through dialogue. And for this, as I said here, we should put ourselves in others' shoes. We should understand the concern of others. Then I think we can close more easily. I'm glad that now the both leaders in both sides, our president and prime minister here, they are in this mood, and I hope that the result in the long term will be positive for the people in both sides.
Well, thanks for that. So things are moving on the Greek-Turkish relations, but things aren't really moving in terms of Turkey's EU aspirations or membership process. Negotiations started in 2005, I think it was. In 2016, we had this migrant deal between the EU and Turkey that was supposed to accelerate everything, and instead the whole thing seems to be frozen. So I guess my question is, can Turkey maintain its European orientation, its EU orientation, as long as membership talks remain frozen like this?
Well, Turkey's European orientation is not new. It's centuries before, and we are historically and geographically part of Turkey. Then also, after Second World War, Turkey was the founding member of all the European institutions. Of course, starting the full membership negotiation in 2005 was very meaningful for both of us. Turkey is a big country by population, land, and then its joining in Europe definitely will strengthen Europe, and Europe will act strategically more powerful in the world. Unfortunately, it didn't move very well as we expected. At the beginning, some of the member countries prevented us going further, and they frozen some chapters. Their reason was not honest, I have to say, because at that time I was leading Turkey and I started negotiation there. Anyway, I believe that being the full member of the EU is, of course, important. But what is more important for us to be compatible with the EU? What does it mean? Adaptation of the standards. Therefore, Copenhagen political criteria, Maastricht criteria, adaptation, all of them, and other EU acquis in Turkey is good for us, all right? We believe that this makes the country resilient, robust economy, and more strong. So the officially, the progress, if it goes very well, of course. I mean, we definitely wish to do this, see this. But if it doesn't happen, that was my advice to my governments, and also publicly. We'll open the chapter ourselves and close it, so upgrade all the standards. That will definitely change Turkey, and it changed Turkey a lot. And then being the full membership is a political issue. If the member country sees that Turkey is really an asset for them, they say yes. Maybe Turkey will say no that time. That time, I requested from my counterparts, when we sat together behind the doors, I told them that, don't block this. So we move when the Council declares that Turkey is ready, then you take your political decision that time. Isn't it good that a country, the big country, is adopting all the EU acquis? Is it good for Europe or not? Is it good for the European companies or not? But unfortunately, some of the leaders that time, they didn't act positively.
I mean, one of the reasons, I guess, that progress stalled was to do, and this was the official reasons, to do with developments in the country, political developments, democratic backsliding, and so on. So I just wanted to ask you, what is your assessment of recent political and economic developments in Turkey? You're not in government anymore, but you're not in, but you're still involved, I think, in the political scene. So it'd be good to hear from you, just how things are going in terms of political developments and also the economy, which has been through a difficult period. Things now seem to be going in the right direction.
Well, everybody knows that recently Turkey passed through some difficult domestic issues. So that tied our hands, and we face problem. But after the 2003, last year's election, the president and the government, they realized that the policies should be changed. Particularly the economic policies, the performance of the last policies were not good. I mean, they are very clear. So they realized this, and President assigned new minister in charge of economy and finance, is very eligible and talented man, and also the new chairman of central bank. He's also very good, very professional. Before, the political man was there and that. So now, both of them and the others, they're convinced, the president and the others, the public opinion. So they are doing very well, very rational policies they are following. The main target is the inflation. Inflation was very high. And central bank also declared that their main mission is to again gain the stability of the market. So therefore, the monetary policy, fiscal policies, all together combined, they are going hand in hand, and I think rational, and I believe that in the future, we will yield the results of this. In a foreign policy also, the engagement policies, now the president, the new foreign minister, they are implementing this, and this creates, of course, good climate, not only in the West, in the East, South. There are difficult issues, you see. You have to talk, you have to understand, and it's always good to solve the problems diplomatically. The war caused huge damage, we all know. So therefore, I'm optimistic with the new policies.
Well, thank you very much. And I did have the pleasure of listening to the finance minister of Turkey recently in London, who set out his vision, thinking that really inflation has probably peaked now in May, and that from now on we should be on a downward trajectory. But thank you very much for your introductory remarks and your overview of how you see Greek-Turkish relations developing and the wider issues in the region. It's been a pleasure to have you with us, and thank you very much.
Thank you.